Daf Yomi Tractate Bava Basra, page 4b, top of the page, with the words Amart. Yesh Aim Lemikra. You therefore say in response, the vocalization of the Torah is authoritative. And the verse prohibits cooking the young goat in its mother's milk. Bachalev. Okay. Ella de kuli alma yesh em lemikra. Rather, everyone agrees that the vocalization of the Torah is authoritative. Yesh em lemikra. V'Rabbanan b'hakam ifligi. And Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi and the rabbis, this is what they're arguing about. Rabbi Savar Yarshiun Elohim. Achrine. Rabbanan Savar Yarshiun Dehayech V'hai. This is what they're arguing about. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi holds that the phrase "the court shall condemn" is referring to other judges, in addition to the three that were derived from the earlier verse, leading to a total of 5. Whereas the rabbis hold that the term "shall condemn" means 3 judges, meaning those who have already been mentioned, and therefore there are only 3. Rabbi Yehuda ben Rois lo pligi v'avonan. And with regard to Rabbi Yehuda ben Rois, who applied the principle, the vocalization of the Torah is authoritative, to the question of the duration of the ritual impurity of a woman who gave birth to a female, it can be explained that the rabbis do not disagree with him, as everyone agrees that the vocalization of the Torah is authoritative. Beit Hillel Netanya v'chiber Ibnei Hadin. With regard to Beit Hillel, who hold that a single presentation of blood is sufficient to atone, even when bringing a sin offering, this is not because they hold the traditional consonantal text is authoritative. Rather, their opinion is, as it is taught in a Braita, the verse states with regard to the sin offering brought by a ruler, and the priest shall make atonement for him, Leviticus 4:26. And with regard to a sin offering of a goat brought by an ordinary person, and the priest shall make atonement for him, Leviticus 4:31. And with regard to a sin offering of a lamb brought by an ordinary person, and the priest shall make atonement for him, Leviticus 4:35, repeating this term 3 times. The repetition is due to the following logical inference. V'halo dinhu ne'emar damim lemata v'ne'emar damim lemala ma damim hamurim lemata shenatan ve'votal achat kiper af damim hamur lemala shenatanan ve'matana achat kiper. Could this halacha not be derived to recall v'chomer to an a fortiori inference? There is stated a term of blood below in the verse written with regard to a bird brought as a sin offering, see Leviticus 5:9. And there is stated a term of blood above in the verse written with regard to an animal brought as a sin offering, see Leviticus 4:25, 31, and 35. Just as with regard to the blood that is stated below, when it is presented with one presentation, it has effected atonement. So too, with regard to the blood that is stated above, when it is presented with one presentation, it has effected atonement. O kalach l'derzo. O kalach l'derzo, ne'emar davim b'chutz, v'ne'emar davim b'fnim. מה דמים המורים בפנים? חיסר אחד ממתנוס לא עשה ולא כלום, אף דמים המורים בחוץ, חיסר אחד ממתנות לא עשה כלום. Or perhaps, go this way, offering a different explanation. There is stated a term of blood in the verse written with regard to the external altar, meaning in the verse written with regard to a sin offering of an ordinary person that is brought on the external altar in the courtyard, see Leviticus 4:25. And there is stated a term of blood in the verse written with regard to the inner altar, meaning with regard to a sin offering of the community or the high priest, the blood of which is sprinkled on the incense altar inside the sanctuary. See Leviticus 4:7-18. Just as with regard to the blood that was stated concerning the inner altar, meaning one of the presentations is lacking, it has not accomplished anything, and the offering is not valid, so too with regard to the blood that was stated concerning the external altar, if one of the presentations is lacking, it has accomplished nothing. Nira lemi dome, danin chutz michutz, ve'danin chutz mipnim. The Gemara analyzes the two possibilities. Let us see to which of the two comparisons this is more similar. It can be claimed we derive a halakha stated with regard to the external altar from a halakha stated with regard to the external altar, but we do not derive a halakha stated with regard to the external altar from a halakha stated with regard to the inner altar. O kelacha derzo, tenin chatas v'ar b'kronois, v'chatas v'ar b'kronois, ve'al yocher zeh, she'en chatas v'ar b'kronois. Go this way. We derive a halacha stated with regard to a sin offering whose blood is to be sprinkled on the four corners of the altar from the halacha stated with regard to a sin offering whose blood is to be sprinkled on the four corners of the altar. And this sin offering consisted of a bird which is not a sin offering of the type whose blood is to be sprinkled on the four corners of the altar cannot prove that the halacha is similar with regard to a sin offering whose blood is to be sprinkled on the four corners of the altar. Talmud loy v'chiper mipnei hadin v'chiper af al pi shelo natan ela shlosha kiper af al pi shelo natan ela shtayim kiper af al pi shelo natan ela achad. Since there are two legitimate inferences, the halacha cannot be decided through a logical inference. Therefore, the verse states, and the priest shall make atonement, and the priest shall make atonement, and the priest shall make atonement, 3 times, due to the logical inference. The verses are interpreted as follows. The priest shall make atonement, even though he presented only 3 presentations. And then a second verse repeats, the priest shall make atonement, even though he presented only 2 presentations. And then a third verse repeats, the priest shall make atonement even though he presented only 1 presentation. This interpretation is the source of Beit Hillel's opinion. Rabbi Shimon, Rabbanan, B'hai pligi, Rabbi Shimon Sofer Schacha lo ba'ikra, Rabbanan Sofer Schacha ba'ikra. And concerning Rabbi Shimon and the rabbis, who disagree with regard to the number of walls required in the sukkah, it is with regard to this that they disagree. Rabbi Shimon holds that the basic requirement of placing roofing on the sukkah does not need a verse to teach that it is required, as it is implied by the word sukkah. Consequently, the word sukkot appears 2 times in the text, beyond the initial mitzvah, teaching a requirement for 4 walls. And there is a halakha transmitted to Moses from Sinai that reduces the minimum size of one of the walls to a handbreadth. And the rabbis hold that the requirement of placing roofing does not need a verse. Therefore, one of the 4 derivations is used to teach that requirement, and only 3 walls remain, one of which is reduced to a handbreadth. Rabbi Akiva v'Rabbanan b'li. Rabbi Akiva savar nafashos tarti mashma v'Rabbanan savar nafashos de'alma mashma. And with regard to Rabbi Akiva and the rabbis, who disagreed about the issue of a quarter log of blood that emanated from 2 corpses, it is with regard to this that they disagree. Rabbi Akiva holds that the bodies in the plural indicates 2. Consequently, a quarter log of blood that emanated from 2 corpses also renders one impure. And the rabbis hold that bodies in plural indicates that a general halacha and no derivation can be made with regard to blood that emanated from two corpses. Both opinions, however, agree that the vocalized text of the Torah is authoritative. The Kulyama Yeshem Mikra. Does everyone really hold that vocalization is authoritative? Vasanya, little tefes, little tafot. Harekan Arba, Devar Yishmael. So the Gemara asks, does really everyone hold that the vocalization of the Torah is authoritative? But isn't it taught in the Braita with regard to the number of compartments in the phylacteries of the head? The verse states, "It shall be for a sign upon your hand and for a totafot between your eyes." Exodus 13:16, with the word totafot spelled efficient without a second vav in the way that can be read as a singular. And again, they shall be for totafot between your eyes, Deuteronomy 6:8, spelled as a singular word. And again, they shall be for totafot between your eyes, 11:18, this time spelled plain with the second vav in a manner that must be plural. There are 4 mentions of totafot here, as the third one is written in the plural and therefore counts as 2. Consequently, it is derived that the phylacteries of the head must have 4 compartments. This is the statement of Rabbi Yishmael. But Rabbi Akiva Omer Eino Tzarich Tet Bekatfei Shtayim Pat Be'afriki Shtayim. Rabbi Akiva says there is no need for this proof, as the requirement of 4 compartments can be derived from the word totafot itself. The word tat in the language of the katfe means 2, and the word pat in the language of Afriki means 2, and therefore totafot can be understood as a compound word meaning 4. The Braita therefore indicates that Rabbi Yishmael holds that not the vocalization, but rather the tradition of the manner in which the verses in the Torah are written is authoritative. Tat and Fat. In the language of Katfi and Afriki. African? Wow. Ela le'olam pligi. V'hani v'liki pligi. Hecha deshani kra b'misoyres. Aval chalev b'chalev. Dechi hadadi ninu yesh em mikra. Rather, the explanation that everyone holds that the vocalization of the Torah is authoritative must be rejected, and it must be explained that the sages actually do disagree whether it is the vocalization of the Torah or the tradition of the manner in which the verses in the Torah are written that is authoritative. And in order to explain the unresolved problem with regard to the Brisa about the prohibition of cooking a young goat in its mother's milk, the explanation is that this statement that they disagree as to whether the vocalization or the tradition is authoritative applies where the vocalization of the word differs from the tradition of the manner in which the word is written. But in this case, the words milk, chalev, and fat, chalev, are written in an identical manner. There is no difference in the writing at all, only in the way that they are vocalized. Therefore, all agree the vocalization of the Torah is authoritative. Okay. V'harei yireh D'chiyel zininu upligi D'tanya Rabbi Yochanan ben Dahavai Omer Meshum Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema Asome Ba'achas me'enav Patur min hariyah Shneimar yireh כתר שבא לרועס כך בא לרועס. Ma leois b'shtei ha'enov av irois b'shtei enov. The Gemara asks, but the words shall see and shall appear are written in an identical manner, and nevertheless the sages disagree about which reading is authoritative, as it is taught in Braita. Yochanan ben Dahavai says in the name of Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema, one who is blind is one of his eyes is exempt from the mitzvah of appearance. In other words, the obligation to appear in the temple and to sacrifice an offering on the three pilgrimage festivals, as it is stated 3 times in the year, all of your males shall appear before the Lord God, Exodus 23:17, according to the way in which the verse is written. Without vocalization, it can be said as yireh, meaning shall see, instead of yireh, meaning shall appear. This teaches that in the same manner that one comes to see, so he comes to hear. In other words, to be seen, just as the usual way to this is with both of one's eyes, so too the obligation to appear applies only to one who comes with the sight of both of his eyes. Ella Amar Rav Acha B'Reid Rav Ika Amar Kra Lo Tzvah Shel Gedi Derech Bishlo Asar Torah. It is therefore apparent that even when there is no difference in the way that the words are written, some say that the tradition, not the vocalization, is authoritative. Rather, Rav Acha, the son of Rav Ika, said the reason all disagree that there is a prohibition to cook a young goat in its mother's milk and not in its mother's fat is that the verse states, "You shall not cook a young goat." Exodus 23:19. The verse teaches that the action the Torah required is in the manner of cooking, which is generally done in a liquid such as milk, and not in a solid substance such as fat. Tanu Rabbanan dinimamenos ishlo. The sages taught in Braita cases of monetary law are adjudicated by 3 judges. To be continued.